Brew Thursday! Woo! And the cat ran out. So, tonight, we are doing Life and Limb.
Yeah.
And Life and Limb is probably one of the most epic collaborative beers made in the recent history.
I'm very excited to try this for the first time.
Yes, if you're on Twitter or anything like that, you follow any beer people, then you know that this beer has been looked forward to and talked about and ad nauseum. And we got our hands on it. We have some bottles here.
It's pretty limited too.
Yeah, it's very limited. And
so I found I bought 6 bottles down the street. And they were 15 bucks a piece. And when I left the store, there was 2 left. So I doubt they'll be getting any more. They didn't think they'd be getting any anyway.
Right.
So when I walked in there, I tweeted about it. I kind of had an orgasm in the store.
And that's what's really great about
beer. You can have orgasms.
You can just right there in the middle of the liquor store. They don't care. You might end up on YouTube.
They'll help you out.
Yeah, and I think this was just recently started hitting the shelves in the last day or so, because most of the people that I see talking about it are asking where they can find it.
At least on the West Coast.
Right.
Anyway.
I'm sure, yeah, and they did their release dinner here, but I think it was brewed out east. And I'm not going to commit to that on
I think
camera.
Sierra Nevada brewed it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's brewed and bottled by Sierra Nevada and distributed by Sierra Nevada.
Right on. So yeah, this is probably Sierra Nevada is a very well-established craft brewery. They've been around for a long time. I don't think that I know anybody that hasn't tried a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Yeah, the Pale Ale is what really got me into craft brew. I kind of got tired of beer in general.
Right.
You know, all the same old stuff you can buy anywhere. And I started drinking that, and that's when I really started going, man, this is good.
Yeah, beer has a different flavor than what rice can concoct. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. Shocking. So we're pairing this tonight with some cooked pork tenderloin.
Yeah.
And some stuffed mushrooms that have like all sorts of like heavenly goodness in them.
In the spirit of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, there's like onions.
Well, I'm not gonna go that far.
A little stuffing. Actually.
I won't go into a political diatribe about Thanksgiving on the show currently, but we do know that this show will be released Thanksgiving Day. Many of you will be eating these types of accoutrements today.
So we'll just say we're thankful to have Life and Limb and this awesome food.
Yeah. So
yeah.
The nice. Speaking of which, though, if you're eating turkey, if you're eating that kind of, if you're going to try to look at pairing a Thanksgiving dinner with turkey or whatever, turkey's your main meal. That's what you're going to want to pair the beer with.
You know, I read actually last night a good beer that I'm going to get that was on this show. Mm-hmm. The Inger, the
Alt Barsch.
Dunkel.
Yeah, it's a Dunkelweiss. It's a dark Weiss beer. It's very, very malty, very sweet, but not so malty and sweet that you won't be able to enjoy it for dinner. So that's a good choice, actually.
Yeah, I'm going to be getting that. So
tonight is Life and Limb, and this is a... What do you know about Life and Limb?
What do I know about Life and Limb? Well, it is made... It's okay. It is a dark ale. 10.2% alcohol. It's made with maple syrup and birch syrup. I think it was added at the end of the whole brewing process.
Generally, I think, and this is a brewing thing, not necessarily Life and Limb, but when they add the maple and the birch and those kind of flavors to them, they do that like after the mash is complete, after the boil is complete, or during the secondary fermentation. And the reason for that is because if you add a whole bunch of maple and birch syrup into the boil, you're going to boil out all the flavor, all the aroma, and all you're going to be left with is a bunch of sugar that's going to ferment.
Right. Okay.
And so with a high gravity beer like this, they probably put some in during the boil, but I'm going to say, my limited knowledge.
Yeah, I don't have any idea how they made the beer. Yeah, that's just the synopsis that I read online about it. So I had some of it last night. This isn't my first time having the beer, and it is like
lucky
for having such a high alcohol content.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't even taste it.
Yeah,
like it is. And it's
very well concealed.
I mean, I'm starting to.
All right, you know,
I'm salivating.
I'm now angry at you because you had it before me, and so you don't get to open yours until last.
I've really been waiting for this beer to come out. It's the first time I've actually been following like the whole process, not following the process, but following the timeline of when they started talking about it, when they're going to do it, up to when it's finally out. So when I saw it last night,
Oh, I'm not even gonna hate on you.
I
Like you
just
had
couldn't
to.
resist.
Yeah, you can't look at that and say no. I will not purchase you right now. I will purchase you later.
I will wait to drink you.
The first thing I did is got home and...
You'll notice that
fridge.
we're drinking these out of what are ostensibly red wine glasses, and
That's okay.
yeah, and this is probably would be better off in like a snifter or something with less of a stem, but these are kind of the equivalent.
Yeah, I don't have 3 snifters.
Yeah, it's
So-
and that's
If you're
that's-
like us,
Yeah.
don't have 3 snifters or.
See, now,
tulip
I'm
glasses.
kind of a beer glass kind of freak for some reason. I love collecting glassware. I have like every type of glass you can
I'm
possibly
kind of getting
imagine
into
for
that
beer.
myself, too.
But you know, most people don't, and understandably so. So, but most people have a set of wine glasses,
Yeah.
and so for dark beers like this, you can almost always feel comfortable pouring that into a wine glass. You're gonna get a better, like, you know, this is gonna trap the aromas that you want. It's gonna help with the head. You know, and don't fill it to the top, obviously. Just somewhere around halfway point, just like you would a glass of wine.
Well, mine's kind of...
Yeah, I think
2/3,
all of them
I
are.
guess.
Yeah, you know, it's up to
better
you.
left
Like, you know, you get them in a bar and they'll fill them all the way up to here, which
Yeah.
is probably a little too much. But this really will help with the aroma and the flavor. And now I'm just talking and I should be drinking.
Keep talking.
I'm employing the technique taught to us by Dr. Bill.
Yes, the 3-sip rule.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And I notice on this show that we follow a lot of beer with wow or oh my god. So
Surreal.
it is. No, it's just this is
No, I tweeted about this, what Steve said about the juxtaposition attaining a higher level, a higher point
Definitely,
of existence.
right.
It was like, I had that, I was
Enlightenment.
just like, oh, yeah.
You know what I really-
Enlightenment in a bottle.
what I really like about this is that you can smell the alcohol. You get the aroma off the alcohol, but you do not taste it.
Dude, that's exactly what I told Yvonne last
I
night.
really like that.
I was smelling, I go, and it comes off,
it comes off like it's
comes
gonna
off-
bite you when you drink it.
and it comes off kind of Belgian.
I would say
Which-
it's masked, but I can still taste it.
Oh, well,
Oh!
fine.
Wow, that's interesting. Right?
Like I was saying,
Yeah.
like, it came
I mean,
off,
I would say maybe not the alcohol, but I can definitely tell that this is more like a barley wine as opposed to, you know,
Alcohol
something with,
content
like,
wise.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
not- okay.
Not like whereas, like I can tell that this has alcohol in it.
I saw a
But it's-
review about it online. Someone said it tasted a lot like the Dogfish Santo Marron,
Oh, okay.
but without the wood taste in it.
and see, I noticed those in your beer cooler, but I didn't grab one because
You should have, dude.
I've never had one either. I should have.
Oh,
but
it is so
tonight
good.
tonight was about life and limb. I didn't want to try a whole bunch of new beers.
Well, you're
I'll
open
have
to try it.
Yes, I'll have
Anything
to.
you want. So.
Maybe afterwards.
This is growing on me. I like this a lot.
But I thought the same thing after I read that and tasted it. It was like, yeah, it does remind me of that beer. It just, that beer, the first time I had the Santo Marron, I think that's what it's called, it really bit me. It was just like, oh my God, this is harsh. But I drank a bottle and then I drank another bottle, and the more you drink, no, I don't mean the more you
Once
drink.
I got through the fifth of Jack Daniels, I didn't taste anything at that point. Woohoo!
The more you drink of a beer, the more you come to appreciate
Right.
it, and you know what you're up against, you know,
Yeah.
when you drink it. So,
That's
and
true.
now I love it. So,
So, and I've noticed that even like not even in one sitting, where I have a beer and I don't necessarily like it that much, but then I have it again later on, and it's like some of the complexities that I didn't really notice before, I'm noticing now. And so, yeah, I totally get what you're saying with
Yeah.
that. But let's try this with the,
I'm
the
gonna-
food. I'm just gonna be all like uncouth here and just
Really?
grab. I have a fork.
I
I don't eat with forks in my own home, so I don't know what to do with these. Wow.
So should
you
we
like it?
touch on the fact that this is another beer that is somewhat hard to attain?
oh yeah. Yeah, we mentioned before how we like to drink beers that people can get their hands on.
But not tonight.
And kind of drink
Not this
along.
month.
We promised, like, we're
getting
that.
there.
We were gonna do it tonight with the Rogue
Hazelnut
hazelnut brown
nectar.
nectar.
And we'll give Rogue their love in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, because that's a really good beer. And
But you know, the Stone's Double Bastard Ale is pretty widely. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
they're pretty much all over. They're in Texas and they're on the East Coast, and another something else that you can think of. And I'm going to give a free shout out to my girl Jane. If you're looking for a beer you can't find, there are, and you live in a state that allows it. That's a big key. There are places online where you can purchase beer.
Right.
And for instance, in an upcoming episode, we'll be doing Dogfish Head Pangea, which we can't really find out here anywhere. And so I ordered it from a site called Brews and Ales.
Yes.
Right there. And they have just a huge collection of beer that, you know, maybe people only in the East Coast can get, or maybe people on the West Coast can get.
Well, even us. I mean, I'm sure we're going to be using them, or you know, them or sites like that quite a bit because there's a lot of East Coast beers that we probably can't get our hands on.
Right, and we want to try them, you know.
Although we do live in an area where craft beer is plentiful, and we're kind of lucky for that. So, but yeah, we didn't, you know, we couldn't pass the opportunity up to try the Life and Limb on the show because
it's a hot ticket item.
Yeah, it's such a rare beer at this point. It's so limited,
and because people have been looking for it,
yeah,
and we happen to have 3 bottles,
and we kind of want to just rub it in your face. No, I think this is what in my opinion, this is kind of what defines a craft beer geek. There's somebody who goes out and is like, look, we're looking for beer that we can't normally get, that we can't, like, for instance, myself, I'm a little bit obsessive. I'm a bit of an extreme personality. So when I heard that Sioux Falls was going to have a Darkness release party.
Now, what is Darkness?
Darkness is a beer from Surly Brewing Company. The Surly Brewing and Surly Brewer, they're all on Twitter. We'll put their information down here. You definitely should follow them. You definitely should find out about who they are and what they do, because Surly brews beer in a way that rivals my love of Stone.
Really?
Yeah. And it shocked me too. And I met Omar this last week at Monk's House of Ale Repute in Sioux Falls. And this is just a brief shout out to Monk's House of Ale Repute because, wow, like a craft beer bar that rivals anything I've seen in LA. Anything. But I flew out to South Dakota specifically for the Darkness tapping. And Darkness is a beer that's brewed once a month or once a year by Surly Brewing Company. They brew it in a limited fashion, and people not only line up at the brewery for the chance to buy this beer, they line up at like 3 in the morning.
Right.
And it's in the middle of like fall/winter Minnesota, so it's like people are all like in their coats and whatever, standing out in front of the brewery at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, waiting to get Darkness.
Oh.
Yeah. Wow. That was funny. Oh my god.
Don't steal my lame jokes.
Well, if you're going to steal the puns, I'm going to have to steal your lame jokes.
And it wasn't a lame joke, so it's a win on the way around.
But I flew out there for that specifically. Omar was awesome. He knows how to work a crowd, and they had a crowd. And Darkness was a great beer. So if you're in the Midwest, if you can find a couple of bottles of Darkness, go for it.
What kind of beer is Darkness?
It's an Imperial Russian Stout.
Well, you had mentioned that we were going to do the hazelnut brown ale, which I think is a world champion brown ale, according to their own label.
If you read the blog.
So I guess I'll take this moment to tell you all that that's actually the beer we were leaning towards to get a keg of in our kegerator at home, my roommate and I. So, as an open-ended invitation, if anyone has a better suggestion or something similar, my roommate has a bit of a sweet tooth and prefers the sweeter beers. Please let us know. We'll have a poll or something up on the blog, and
yeah, and
we can figure out what's going to be the Kohlenberg keg for this month.
Keg.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah,
the Kohlenberg keg.
No, like tonight we're doing we're doing some pork tenderloins.
We're
doing a pork tenderloin. It's amazing. And stuffed mushrooms. I like the pork tenderloin very much. The pork tenderloin. Wow.
Life and limb.
This is what happens when we try to do a live feed in the middle of the... It goes completely wrong.
It's okay. There's
yeah, the...
2 people in the chat.
No, we got like 5 people in there. It's awesome.
Okay.
Whatever. Anyway. The pork works really well. I love the mushrooms, the stuffed mushrooms. They do not work well with this beer, though.
You don't think so?
No. They've got kind of a weird...
The mushrooms?
The mushrooms would
I
work
thought they
great.
brought out something I hadn't tasted. I mean...
The mushrooms themselves...
At first I didn't like them.
Yeah.
But then I tried the beer and it... I don't know, it brought something out that I hadn't tasted before.
I think the opposite. I think the pork tasted good, but not... It didn't really complement it.
Yeah, I felt it kind of overpowered it. Maybe it's the seasoning in the pork.
Yeah, the salt on the pork is a little bit too much for this beer. But if you try it without that, if you get some of it in there, You know, this beer is going to pair very well with the meats, obviously.
And I believe there's little pieces of apple in this stuffing, and the apple kind of adds to the sweetness of the beer. I like it with the mushroom. I think it's awesome. I wish there were more mushrooms.
I feel like it brings out more of the alcoholiness, which I'm a fan of. Apparently,
taste of
because I think
alcohol?
that tastes better now. No, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to articulate
I
it
wanna try
in ways that you
another
guys
mushroom.
can comprehend. I'm feeling these
make a whole
feelings.
bunch
How do
of
I put
Do you
them
like
into
it?
I hate
words?
them now.
Do you like what the mushroom's doing with the beer? though?
Yes.
I do. I think
just don't know how to describe it.
I think what it is. Yeah, and no, I'll go back to this now. I think the problem.
And it might be because of the stuffing.
Yeah, no. I think my only issue with the stuff, and I'm gonna say it right now. I love onions. I'll take an onion and just eat it raw. Like I love onions, but not with beer. And I think the aroma of the onions, the flavor of the onions overpowers pretty much everything else. And so that's maybe is kind of distracting me from the beer.
The spices and the pork and then the onions might be a little too overpowering.
Right.
So let's try just
So
the shrimp.
that makes sense then.
Yeah.
You thought the pork was a little too rich, I guess.
Well, the seasoning it's a little too salty.
The food is too good, is basically what we're
Right.
saying. Unfortunately.
The nice thing though about this beer and with
It
these
still
pairings
works.
is that it still works. Even though because a lot of beers would not be able to withstand the onion and the heavy seasoning on the pork, this one does.
That's
Yeah.
true.
And you're still getting the flavor of the beer. You're still getting like the complexities that are behind the beer. It's just not like it's not exploding like it normally does for me when a pairing. When a pairing goes right, you get that.
Oh, you saw my reaction.
Right,
Stone.
you get that feeling in your mouth. You're like, oh my god.
You were like plugging Stone. I'm sitting there going, oh, oh, oh.
So yeah, it's just but this kind of will will work, and you know I'll go ahead and probably add this to my list of beers to have with holiday dinners. You know?
Dude, you read my mind.
Yeah.
I was gonna get the Anger, and then I might break out a bottle of this for Thanksgiving for anyone who might appreciate trying it since it's so limited.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's right. You got to advocate.
That's my problem. Most of my family enjoys hard alcohol, so
Well, you know, try a bourbon barrel aged stout beer.
yeah.
Your dad probably will not even be able to tell the difference between that and some bourbon.
Well, my dad
Or you
doesn't
can
drink,
try the,
but I mean, the people who do drink, like my extended
He's all, my dad's a recovering alcoholic. Thanks. Jerk. All right, well, I guess I'm taking this last piece. God, I talked for 2 minutes and you guys just
What
take
does
all
it say
the
about the food?
Seriously, I know.
Was that a pig squeal?
Squeal for me, piggy.
Dude, that's the audio cut away at the end of the show right there.
That's the opening and the ending.
Well, at least it's not me going, woo! What I like about Life and Lamb, besides the fact that it's just, by itself, is just a fantastic beer. Like, I'm really impressed with this beer. You know, you hear a lot about, it's almost like a movie. When you're going to go see a movie and you have all this hype surrounding the movie, you know you're going to go in there and hate it.
You're right.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and you almost want to go in with bad expectations.
No, it sucks.
Really?
And yeah, because
When everyone
that's how
says, that's how Dark Knight was for me. Everyone was like, this is the best movie ever made in the history of
movies.
humanity.
Heath Ledger was the man in this movie.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, don't tell me that. I go in there expecting God on screen.
God on screen.
And yet, I mean, it's an awesome movie. But yeah, that's, yeah.
How'd you think Heath Ledger was in it?
Epic. It was great. It was an awesome movie.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and so the same thing applies to beer. You know, when you hear about these beers and they talk about like, oh my God, this is the greatest beer ever made, and it's awesome, and people are looking for it, and they're paying. Like, you go on eBay and try to find beers like this, and they're fetching, you know, hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
You know, and that's impressive to me. And so, but at the same time, I'm thinking, okay, I'm putting way too much expectation into this beer, and so this beer matched the expectation. I was very happy with it. But beyond that, it speaks to the whole idea of collaborative brews, you know? And one of the biggest things that I see as a problem for craft breweries is their inability to expand beyond the initial flair. You know, it's like a brewery comes out, they release 4 or 5 great beers, and people are like, oh my God, this is the best beer ever, blah, blah, blah. And everybody's into that brewery for a while. But then another brewery comes out and they release good beers.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it's like, you know, it's no longer the time when there's 2 craft brews to choose from. You know, I can go into my liquor store and I've got 30 different craft breweries to choose from. So at that point, it's kind of like, I've had that a dozen times. I've had that a dozen times. I've had that a dozen times. I'm looking for something new. And so now the breweries have picked up on that, and it's like, hey, you know what? Sierra Nevada, Dogfish Head, let's get together. Let's make a brew together. Stone and Brewdog in Scotland, or...
Do you think it's because they're so remote, and so they feel like their market shares aren't, like they're not competing with the same
I think it definitely opens up some name share. Like,
right,
you know, I think people on the West Coast who may have never heard of Dogfish Head,
I think it might
they get some notoriety there.
It opened a lot of doors for Dogfish Head too, because Sierra Nevada distributed
it's huge,
beer.
yeah.
And for Dogfish Head to be basically part of a beer that's being distributed by Sierra Nevada,
right?
I believe that was one of the things that Dogfish was so stoked about, because it was like, this is going to be distributed by Sierra Nevada. You can find Sierra Nevada in Stater Brothers, you know, not that you'd find this beer in Stater Brothers, but they have.
But at least it's going to open up a market they don't have to. Well, and
it's like Ken Schmidt.
Yeah, exactly. This dude's standing around one day and he's brewing amazing beer in his garage, and all of a sudden Stone says, "Hey, come here and make a collaboration brew with us."
Yeah.
You know, who's not going to freaking lose their mind off of that? You know. But I think ultimately, when you think of this kind of thing, especially like with Sierra Nevada, because I think Sierra Nevada is doing a Belgian IPA with San Diego Brewing Company right now.
Right.
And who's heard of San Diego Brewing Company? And no offense,
I heard about it today because they're 75% done with the
right. They're talking about it on Twitter, and obviously, you know, an online presence is great for that. But you know, your average individual outside of California has not heard of this brewery, and now they're going to get a little name space, they're going to get a little notoriety, whatever, and that's great for them. That
but on
helps.
top of all that, they're making something that's really.
But what's great about the collaboration brews,
like something that is just, I've never tasted anything like this.
Well, and that's the point, is that with the collaboration brews, you're not seeing them get together to make a porter.
Right.
Or
like
to get together to make a lager. They're making something that, like, you're never going to taste this anywhere else.
And why not?
You know, I love the collaborative thing that's going on right now. I hope that sticks around for a while, because that's really going to bring together... it's gonna prevent that whole, like, the novelty wearing off syndrome. You know, because in our society today, let's face it, you are popular for 30 seconds. It's no longer 15 minutes of fame. It's about 35 seconds of fame.
Yeah.
And people, like, they see it like, oh my god, that's awesome. And then it's like, oh my god, that's awesome. It's like the next shiny thing that appears in front of them is what they want to see.
Unless you're like John and Kate for some reason.
Yeah.
Really?
They won't die. I don't know.
I know.
It's like,
I'm working on that.
They're not even John and Kate anymore.
And yet we're talking about that. And yet we are talking
exactly.
So, wow.
Your 15 minutes are up.
Damn it, Brad.
So many 15 minutes ago.
You know, the funny thing is, like, I look at a brewery like Sierra Nevada, and because of their long-standing who they are and whatever, I see very consistent beers coming out of them.
Right.
Sierra Nevada has almost become like a fallback beer for me. You know, it's like, oh, I can't find anything else. I'm in South Dakota. What am I going to get? I'm going to get Sierra Nevada.
Right.
You know, Dogfish Head, on the other hand, is what I would consider on the opposite spectrum of that. They're like
still trying to find themselves, experimenting.
Right. Like they have the attitude like, we don't care if you like our beers. We like our beers, and we're sharing that with you. So suck it. If you want to drink it, drink it. If you don't bother us. And so getting like a very conservative brewery that way.
I don't even think their attitude is suck it. They're saying try the beer. If you don't like it,
it's not for you. Right, it's not for you.
We have other beers you can try. Because they're
right, wait, you said that.
That's okay.
Hold back.
I'll try not to let my mother see that.
Compose. We have other beers.
Their attitude is just so... It's so over the top cool.
Well, yeah, they're probably the friendliest brewery in the world. Yeah.
They're like the hippies of the brew world.
The hippies of the brew world.
They're like, you don't like our beer?
That's cool.
Let us know.
Man.
It's cool, brother.
Don't bogart that bottle then. Pass it over. So yeah, when you get two breweries that have such distinct mindsets like that together, this is what ends up getting created. You know, and what I love about this brew especially is that not only did they make this beer, but they took the drainings of the malts, the extra sugars, and they created Lemon Life.
Now, just to clarify, this is called Life and Limb.
And the session beer, which is like a 5-something alcohol content,
5% alcohol
as
content.
opposed to the 10 point.
Right.
Yeah.
That's Lemon Life, and that's what you'll drink all day long. Drink, you know, watching a football game, doing whatever.
All day long, you're gone.
I had a bottle, and I'm kind of gone.
I feel great at this point.
I'm loving life at the moment.
Yeah.
Life and limb.
You'd be amazed to know how much we had to edit out of this episode.
Tonight was a great episode. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for all of you that signed on to the live stream, and we apologize because there's a lot of editing that those people that didn't sign on weren't.
That's the cool part of
yes. And thank you to all the beer drinkers, and thank you for all the beer makers.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
To all of you, stay safe, drink beer. Seriously, I know.